my name is Lumin. I'm 23 years old and I'm part of the sustainable fashion community in Singapore. I'm originally from Malaysia, so I lived in Malaysia technically half my life and then the other half in Singapore, so super nearby. My parents are still based in Malaysia currently, so I live here with my brother. So I studied both. Yeah, I had my primary school years in KL and then kind of slightly more teenage years in Singapore. I think expectations is one of biggest things, I think, especially in like Asian culture as well, in terms of like kind of your path or your direction and like how you're perceived, not just inward in your family but also like exterior to like your friends and like their parents and like friends of your parents and that sort of things. I would say I'm quite lucky to be in a family of like acceptance, but I do know like sometimes when like let's say if my parents do like introduce me or like share about what I do, like sometimes there's some sort of like stigma in terms of like pursuing something creative or even something different, something not heard of or not normal or not a specific path per se, or something uncertain basically. So the fashion side of things is something that I've always been interested in. So both my parents are actually creatives. That's why they're very also that's probably why they're also very accepting because they're both creatives. Yeah, they're both creatives. They both also studied graphic design and design. So yeah, so that kind of so I guess like genetically probably like that's kind of like where the seed was planted in me, like always being exposed to creative things and appreciating design and beautiful things. Then came school. So I've always just loved fashion, dressing up and all sort of things. And then in school was when I learned about sustainability, when I learned about like the environment specifically, so environmental sustainability. Watching like this specific documentary called River Blue, it's like very ingrained in my kind of timeline because that's kind of when I realized and like I couldn't kind of turn back on this whole idea of kind of taking care of the environment, but at the same time like loving this fashion industry, and it kind of didn't align at all. So that, and then few years passed, so I studied art and textiles in school, so very technical in terms of like textiles, so not really fashion design, but it was like more art and textile, so the fabric manipulation and like creating like textures. And then fast forward a little bit more was COVID, and then we all had time to think, everyone was reflecting, the whole world kind of stopped, and I think it also gave me time to reflect on like what I want to do and everything. And I started volunteering with Kloop, which is a local organization in Singapore that battles and tackles textile waste. So I started as an active volunteer for 1 or 2 years, and then from there on, I wanted to look for young people that also felt the same way, because I felt so isolated and I felt like no one around me like really cares about fashion per se. Then the next layer is actually like sustainability and like environmental stewardship and wanting to actually like make a difference. And it was kind of isolating, and I feel like in Singapore specifically, when the industry and the creative kind of community is already so small and so like little bits and pockets of Singapore where I don't really know where to go or find. And yeah, so kind of that's how it started, wanting to meet these people and bring these people together. So then I started Fashion Parade. So we started as an online actually it started just as an online Instagram profile, but it was like no plan, nothing. Right. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna like just create some graphics and see where this goes. And then yeah, so we've been able to host events and meet so many wonderful people that have also inspired me. So yeah, and then I'm on the journey of like attempting to sustain it through life, which is another situation. Yeah. I feel like everyone is so defined by like let's say like the school they went to or like the job they do, that like sometimes outside of that, like you don't really know who people are. I would say especially at like maybe younger years when you're like just in school and just about to go to your career, like everything we talk about is like, so I didn't really know who was kind of like, oh, like is anybody also like interested in this, or is anybody also like willing to put in that effort to like build something, create a community. I think yeah, it's just not accessible, those types of conversations, A. And then B, I think it's also like uncertain and it's not kind of like stereotypical path. And I think it's not many people. I think also the other thing was actually there's not many people to kind of look up to and be inspired by, or like to aspire to be this person, to be this thing. And I saw that when I was in Clue, when I met like Jasmine and Ian, and when I met that community. But before that, like I was like, is anybody successful doing this? Like, or like, is there anyone I can learn from? Or yeah, like I think that's really comes down to that. For me, like I mentioned before, yeah, I was quite lucky with my family side of things with getting like full support. I think what I struggle with is internal battles, like decisions, like am I really doing the right thing? Like am I utilizing like everything that's been given to me, let's say from an educational perspective or like from an opportunities perspective? Like am I taking and like maximizing what I've been given, or am I like not? I think that's something and also like the other thing is I think growing up as like a youth in Singapore nowadays, and like I do see that like there's such a gap of like I'm so surprised by how our parents were able to like give us this life and kind of like the opportunities that our parents or my parents have given me, and also the peers that I grew up with, and then to kind of be like, how will we ever be able to be like A, as successful as them, or B, be able to like lead a life like them and for our like children or family who choose to have one. So that sort of pressures, and then choosing this work is kind of like, oh yeah, like it's still that uncertainty of like, can I be successful, and also like what does success look like to me?
Yeah.
Like is success XYZ to me, but I'm seeing like success be XYZ for other people, and it's like comparing life. And I think that is probably the hardest thing, is actively choosing and actively learning to not compare yourself with others, and kind of also like be okay with where you are. And if you're not okay with where you are, that's a sign as well. But I feel like it takes like a journey to get there. When I was like studying, like when I was doing my A-levels basically, and I was like looking to apply to schools, and you know, I had this big like dilemma of like, should I do this course which was more like academic and like so it was like an econ and management course, or should I go into like fashion? And that was like such a big dilemma in my life, and I asked so many people around me that I trusted, like including friends, teachers even, and my parents. And I mean, I'm lucky that my parents were always like, yeah, like go. But like to me it was just like I still don't know. And I think at that age, like it's like such a big decision in your life, and now that I think back about it, it's like not as big as like I thought it was, but at that time it's like your whole life, like you thought that that was kind of like the path that would set you up for XYZ, and there's like no going back. So I think at that time, like when I was asking around, like a lot of people were telling me to go for like, oh, like choose the safer option, you have more things, or they'll be like, oh, you'll never like make money if you do something like creative, or there's like no opportunities for you here. And those were like people that I trusted, and like saying that to me, and it was, of course, I kind of knew that would be said at some point, but it's also kind of like, you know, like that. And then like I remember like specifically, so I ended up deciding to go for the fashion side, of course. And I remember I was like about to go for my like interview with school, and I had my portfolio and everything, and I think like just the day before, like someone I met who I've known for quite a while, they said something to me. They were like, oh, like have you ever heard of like the starving artist or something like that, or something that was like, I can't believe someone would say that to you when I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going for my interview tomorrow, like I'm so excited, like blah blah blah. And that kind of like woke me up to like kind of think like I don't know people's intentions. Like I feel like sometimes people do have the right intentions when they say certain things to you for life decisions. Sometimes it's like honesty is kind of the best thing as well, right? So I think that kind of like woke me up to kind of thinking like, oh, why do people say that? And like I kind of have to battle that by myself if I choose to make a specific decision. Yeah, so I think that's that's how I have to cope with it. It's kind of like, okay, so like I take a step back and I think like someone said this is what's happened in the past maybe, or like what I've seen other people go through, and I kind of be like, okay, if I choose this, I kind of have to like battle it myself and maybe like gather the amount of support I have. What helps is surrounding me honestly with people that have the same path or go through the same uncertainties as you. It could be in the same industry, different industry, or it could just be that they may know someone else that has gone through this, just like talking to them, like just like letting it out. I think I'm still at the stage where I do still rely on like external support. I feel like for big decisions, like I always have, I feel like I need like some form of someone to at least bounce off with. Maybe what could help would be like, okay, just don't give me your opinion, but like give me like pros and cons, or like don't tell me like like what you would do, but like just lay it all out for me. Maybe that I feel like that could sometimes help me as well when I'm making decisions. And if I, like you mentioned before, like sometimes I've really been like, okay, like I really disagree with you, and like, but then I'm like, then why did I ask you in the first place? Yeah, so I think like introspecting and actually like asking yourself, it's like a skill, and I feel like you have to like practice that and like really learn how to like be in tune with your thoughts and like have conversations with yourself, which sounds like crazy. I'm saying this, but it's like you have to actually like take time, and I feel like that's something I'm not very good at. I think what helps me reach that point, because I feel like success, I'm like waffling, but like maybe I like break it down a little bit to help me, but I feel like celebrating small wins is success to me. Like there's big picture, I still don't know what it is yet, and like it could be like honestly like probably like happiness. like I think like happiness and like freedom, and I think also like being able to make decisions and like not like second guess or not like overthink, like that to me would be like a success for like a personal growth standpoint. Like for me to not always be like in my head, but like how can I move over from that. So like that's like the personal growth type of success, I would say. Like to be able to be like great at reflecting and be like so efficient with it is success for personal growth for me. And I think in terms of like career, I don't know if that's the question, but in terms of like career or like outward, like I think it's really to be inspiring to people out, like to everyone else. It's like I hope to be inspiring, and like to me that would be like success, or like yeah.
I think that's fair. Okay, thank you so much.